We got handled. The Sixers got handled in game one. We got our asses kicked. There's no denying that. That was an ass whooping by the Toronto Raptors in game one. Now, before we all overreact and say it's all over and say we're going to get dominated and we're not going to win a game, and it is one game and we got our asses kicked. But here's my problem with the way it all played out. Whether we can or whether we can't beat the Toronto Raptors in a 7-game series, what we can do is play better than that. And that's how I look at it as a Sixers fan. The Sixers could have played better than what they showed today. They were not good enough. And you got to give respect and tip the cap to the Toronto Raptors for making them play that way. But at the same time, you got to play better as a professional athlete on the other side. You need to match their intensity that they're bringing defensively with your offensive play. Now, I thought that Brett Brown did not have a smooth game, but at the same time, I don't think the players did either. I said previously that Joel Embiid should be able to dominate Marc Gasol. Well, Marc Gasol must have heard me because he dominated Joel Embiid. And Brett Brown can only do so much with that, but Joel Embiid has to be better. We can't survive with him going 5 of 18 from the field. These shots that he was taking from the post, I mean, he wasn't even looking, throwing it up over his head. He had no structure whatever to his offensive game. He was a mess. Tobias Harris, 5 turnovers. Jimmy Butler pretty much got annihilated there. And JJ Redick had 0 points in the first half. Like, this isn't acceptable. This isn't going to win you games in the playoffs. Then we elect to go with Boban. He's minus 17. Ennis was minus 18. Furkan Korkmaz is getting minutes. And you can also argue that, well, that's our bench. That's our roster. There's only so much you can do with Brett Brown. And that's true as well. There is only so much. But you know, he tried something different. He tried Furkan Korkmaz, and it clearly was not even close to good enough. There was a huge moment in the third quarter. There was one monstrous 21-6 run, but a monster block on one end to a huge Siakam dunk on the other, a big Danny Green 3. The place went electric. Drake is going crazy, and you know, from there, it really was just playing catch-up, and we were never really involved in this basketball game. Kawhi Leonard was something truly special. Now, this is the thing. Our star shut down. Their star took over. How many games are you going to win when that happens? And Kawhi wasn't just making these shots where he was open and he knocked them down. He was making those shots, but he was also making these contested ones where realistically not every person makes them. 45 points, 11 rebounds. He dominated the basketball game and he took it over and made it his, and he was on an elite level, and we had no answers. We couldn't stop him whatsoever, and we couldn't stop them at all as a whole. Him and Siakam, they absolutely torched the 76ers today, and now we're in an 0-1 hole. I will keep saying, though, it is one game, and now that we saw what they are providing on their side of the floor, we have something to at least look at to make adjustments. Game one is always the toughest for both teams because you haven't seen anything yet. Now we saw something, and I have to sit here and say Brett Brown needs to look at this film without sleeping and find a way to match that. But we also need our players. Our players have to step up. We won't win it all if Joel Embiid is playing like this. He was crap today. He was not successful whatsoever. Once he got dominated at a point, it looked like he shut down, and we haven't seen that. I praised him all year long for when Joel Embiid does get dominated, he does not when he gets dominated, because that doesn't happen often, but when he has an off day and his shots aren't falling, he finds other ways to get going. Today, he was just extremely frustrated and never found that other thing to get the squad going, whether it was monstrous rebounds or playing defense. He never found that extra thing to keep providing something for the team. The only person I thought didn't do bad, and I guess that was because I wanted to focus on him heavily, was Ben Simmons, because I know Kawhi always has him turning the ball over and all that. I don't think he did bad, but he didn't take over enough. He shot efficiently from the floor, but he also didn't take many shots from the floor, and he wasn't insanely aggressive, but he didn't have 10 turnovers like we've seen him in the past against this Toronto Raptors team. I wouldn't say Ben played bad like the other guys. The other players on this team were actually horrendous and just frankly not good enough. But like I said, you need to tip the cap to the Raptors because they forced this Sixers team to be so ugly. We had 16 turnovers. We also self-inflicted wounds here, shot 66.6% from the free throw line, which didn't help whatsoever. And, there obviously were some calls that I thought were a little ridiculous, like Kyle Lowry snapping his head back. But do I yell at the refs for that, or is that just basketball being the way that it is in today's era? I mean, it is just what it is. A couple times Tobias had him in the post, and he's moving around and just flops, and I'm not mad at him for that. That's what the NBA is. So yeah, I don't feel good about this. I don't feel great about this. I think our offense stalled out at times, and when you take a look at it, though, at certain points, it was we can't produce offense with James Ennis, Boban, Furkan Korkmaz, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris. Like, that's what's on the floor, and we can't get any structure going offensively, and can't get any good looks, and we can't get any type of creativity going offensively because, our roster is just not good enough. Like, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. It's just not. We even try and throw Bolden out there. He was missing assignments defensively and wide open lanes to the basket. And, it goes on everything tonight. Not the best coaching. The strategy was not there and adjusting was not there. It goes on our players not executing, and it goes on the fact that our lack of bench depth has clearly shown. It's clear as day the difference from what we have coming off the bench and what they have coming off the bench. But at the end of the day, when I sit here and I analyze what the hell went wrong, it's as simple as this. Our star did not have a good game, and he looked miserable, and Marc Gasol owned him tonight, and their star was insane out of his damn mind. Insane. And throughout this entire game, the Sixers had to play catch-up. They had to find a way. They had to keep finding ways to grab points. And I was saying, though, when it was 10, 12 points, it seemed different because the team was just still in there and hanging in, and they were playing with this different type of level. Like, I think at halftime it was a 9-point game, and it seemed way worse than that. And that was with J.J. Redick having 0 points and Joel just brutal. And I said, well, with that happening, with us being that poor with JJ and Joel, it's only a 9-point game. This team's still involved, but that third quarter really did just blow it to the extreme with that big run and the big energy boost. And really, the Sixers were never involved in this basketball game whatsoever, even though at times it was surprising that we weren't down as much as we probably should have been. So I need to sit here and say, well, I'll have videos up, obviously, before Monday talking about this again and talking about what we need to do, but it's pretty clear we need to have a new game plan. I think we need to have different rotations. I was told Zahir Smith would play. I think as much as I've ripped Zahir Smith saying he's not ready, taking him over Furkan Korkmaz any day of the week. I really am, and I think we need to have a different scheme, a different style defensively. We need to find offensive rhythm. Besides Ben getting his buckets when he did plays himself and was aggressive himself at those very limited amount of takes that he was doing, we need to find a way to get him going offensively, whether it's put him in the post, whether it's have him on Kawhi and making him work him hard down low. We need to find something different to get Ben going in certain spots. We need to have Joel Embiid get the ball at the low block and face up a little more. We need to change what we're doing offensively because it wasn't enough. And even when we were in there and getting passes to Tobias in the paint, 2 feet from the basket, getting swatted out of there. How many swats, how many blocks did I have to watch and hear that crowd go crazy? It truly was just a really bad basketball game by the Sixers. And it's that. It's that. But I will reiterate what I said in the beginning. No matter if we can or can't beat the Raptors in 7 games, what it comes down to for me is I expect better play from the Sixers. If we go down with a dogfight, and that was not good enough, and I expect them to be better. It's only 1 game. It was a ass whooping, and I expect the Sixers to play better. Jimmy Butler, come on, bro. Come on, right? Got to be better. JJ, you have to hit your shots. Now, he had an explosive second half there, especially early in the third quarter. He kind of pushed back and had a little pushback, but we need him to be better throughout. Tobias can't turn the ball over 5 times. Can't get swatted the amount of times he did. We need our bench to play to step up. We just have to be better. It's as simple as that. And now we're down 1-0, and that's where we are. So let me know your thoughts down below. It wasn't a fun night for me.